This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. The following program has been rated G and is suitable for all audiences. With us today on the Havery Show, we have longtime family friend, pastor of Wings of Faith Worship Center in Sebring, community leader, Sebring High School sports legend, the Reverend Dr. Robert Shannon. Good morning.
Good morning. How we doing?
We're good. How we doing?
I don't know about the legend.
Listen, man, you're just a humble guy. You're just a humble guy. That's all there is to it.
I don't know about the legend.
No.
I can tell you about. I can tell you about quite a few legends. I mean, it was some legends that that we came up with that I don't even think that I can hold up their tap their shoelaces.
Well, I want to talk about those legends, but here's why I said this. Well, first of all, you're very well known and respected around here for a number of reasons. I was talking to my brother Peter the other day. He said, "Who's going to be your next guest?" I said, "It's going to be Robert Shannon." He said that many years ago, he was at an event, and he was talking to Ralph Janito, and Coach Janito said that you are the most talented and naturally gifted athlete to ever go through Sebring High School.
Wow. Ralph Janito, Coach Janito?
Coach Janito said that about you.
Coach Janito was a great coach, and you could not impress him unless you did some things. But I never played for him because, during that particular time, my life wasn't like it should be. And you wasn't listening to the Mr. Blandings, the Mr. Freelands, and all those coaches. Coach Rapp,
yes.
I was somewhat defiant, and because of that, you didn't get the opportunity to use your gifts and talents,
sure,
like a Donald Masseline, like a Larry Meyer, George, all of those individuals who was out there.
Yeah. Well, it kind of makes it even all the more special that you didn't play for him, and he still singled you out as the most naturally gifted athlete. That's very, very cool.
I appreciate it, but I didn't see it in me.
Talk about some of those legends. Talk about some of those people coming up that were, in your mind, coaches, players, fellow students that should go down in history.
I think when we was coming up, basically, once they integrated the schools and we went to Sebring Middle School, which is Sebring High School, which is a Sebring Middle School now, the first individual, basically, the coach we had was Coach Bible. Yep. Coach Bible was our coach.
Yep.
And one thing that Coach Bible taught us was basically, he taught us commitment, dedication, and when you get tired, you're not tired.
Yes.
In other words, he instilled in us that mindset that if you prepare yourself, no matter what happens on the field, that you'll be able to adjust and adapt.
That's right.
And I think that's basically the first coaching experience in terms of at Sebring Middle School that we had that I thought that was very instrumental. But when you look at players, I mean, I didn't even start. In the seventh grade, didn't even start. It was Larry Hickman and Donald Masseline. They were the fullback and halfback.
Yes.
And Donald Masseline went on. Ralph Janito was a coach.
That's right.
Brought him up in ninth grade, and he was basically playing with Pete Barr and all of those. So those two individuals, I don't think a lot of people realize that Larry Hickman was one of the greatest athletes that ever came out of Washington Heights.
No kidding.
As a matter of fact, I think Larry Hickman was the first Afro-American young sports player that made All-Star.
Is that right?
I think it was Larry Hickman. Facts check me, but I think it was Larry Hickman.
Yeah.
And Larry Hickman was good. Then you had, on basketball, you had Kevin Carpenter.
Yeah.
quick, fast. So those was the individuals that we came up with. But then you had the Larry Meyer, because Larry Meyer, when you got ninth grade, you had the Larry Meyer, George Sedino.
George City, yeah.
Yeah, you had the quarterback at that time was Charlie Lanier.
That's right.
And then you had Buddy Yarber.
Yeah. Oh, the Yarboroughs, they were a force.
Yarber were right behind his trail pushing him. And so those are the individuals that really stood out. And, of course, Bobby DeLauder, Robert Masseling.
Yeah. Would you say that that era was the golden era for Sebring sports, or where would you put that, the golden era? I know every generation would say it was theirs, but what do you think, really?
I just think for his natural talent, without having the coaching staff that like Coach Scott and the other individuals have, and the training and all those machines that you have now to augment a person's ability now, I think that era was for the natural, gifted individual where you had to do push-ups and just running the hill, running the stairs. I think it's probably one of the best there was.
Running this hill, running the stairs in Florida without air conditioning and not being in a training center. I remember the old weight room used to be under the bleachers. I don't know. That might have been after you, but Coach Downing used to take us, and it was that multi machine. There was a name for it, and it was all the machines in one, multi gym or something.
Universal.
Like that.
The universal. Yes. You had you can do the bench press, the legs, the pull-ups.
Yes. He used to take us down there, and he used to make us run the track and whatnot. Did you have Coach Downing?
Coach Downing was at the middle school.
Okay.
But he never came to the high school.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So that was okay. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah.
Coach Downing didn't play.
Oh, no, he did not. No, ever. You know what's funny?
I brought some memories back then.
Listen, man, we were talking about Coach Downing. I was talking to Jeff Carlson on the last episode. We were talking about Coach Downing. And Coach Downing is the only man, the only person who ever told me that my father was a good man. My father passed when I was in 6th grade, and Coach Downing took me aside. He put his arm around my shoulder, and he said, "I'm sorry about your father. He was a good man." Nobody ever said that about my father. And he also made a donation to Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch in my dad's name. And I have respected him and loved him ever since. But he did not play.
He did not play, and he was huge.
Oh, yeah, he was.
I think Coach Downey and Coach, my mind. Coach Rapp.
Yes.
When we was up, they was weightlifters.
Oh, yeah.
They was young.
Oh, yeah.
And they was like, 230 and, 6 pounds of fat and everything, muscle. And
Yes.
and we're not talking about y'all, Coach Rapp and Coach Downey, but they was the individuals that they would put their hands on you a little bit.
That's right.
It was hands-on training.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing to beat you, but it was hands-on. They would kind of get your attention.
Absolutely. When you say hands-on, I remember, I'll never forget it. There were times when he would have us out over in the Methodist Church parking lot, and he would have volleyball, or he'd have stuff set up. Coach Downing didn't confine physical education to the campus at Sebring Middle School when I was there. He'd have you running through the groves or on the railroad tracks to go to the softball field at the high school. He'd have you at the tennis courts playing tennis. He'd have you off campus all the time. And one time he had us over there at the Methodist Church, and it was just so hot, man. It was blazing hot. None of us guys had shirts on. And coming up under the awning thing, going up to the gym, going up the stairs, kind of where the old cafeteria was. You know where I'm talking about. And he'd stand up there at the top of those stairs, and as the boys would come by, good job, good job, good job on your back. And you knew, you're sweaty, you're hot, you got no shirt on, you're even a little sunburned. You knew that was going to hurt. And it was the best hurt you could possibly imagine. To have him slap your back and say, good job, man, that was priceless.
I think when you look at Coach Downey, I think one thing sticks out to me for Coach Downey is his love that he had for students.
Absolutely.
Every student.
That's right.
And he was able to chastise you
Yes.
in that area you need chastising in.
Yes.
But then he had that uncanny ability to lift you
Yes.
in those strong areas that
100%.
make you think, man, I know I can do it. Now you know you can't jump. I mean, when Coach Donnie get through talking to you, you feel like you don't weigh but 130 pounds. You feel like you can tackle O.J. Anderson. I mean, he said, Coach Donnie say I can do it.
That's right. And you know what? You didn't want to let him down.
Right.
In 6th grade, I wanted that Presidential Physical Fitness Award. I didn't get it. 7th grade, I wanted it, and I tried, man. I worked hard. I wasn't a natural athlete like Peter was or like Charlie was, and Vinny to an extent, but I wanted that. But by 8th grade, man, I worked my tail off, and part of it is because I wanted that patch and I wanted that certificate.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted Coach Downing to be proud of me. And I wanted him to know that I worked hard and I did get it in 8th grade finally.
Okay.
Yeah, when I left 8th grade, I was in the best shape of my life.
But that was because of those teachers.
That's 100%, 100%.
Teachers and individuals and stuff. So, I mean, he was a legend. I think all the coaches. And I think once you look back and you say, man, when you look at the Coach West.
Oh, yeah.
Did you remember Coach Purvis?
He was gone before I came
Coach
up.
Purvis, those individuals, man, they really spoke into your life. They had that ability to say, you know what, they saw the best in you. And even when you detoured, they always was able to tell you, hey, I know I heard a lot from a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
Shannon, you know you got talent. You're wasting your talent. You know you can do. And they would always compare. You can be this. You can go to college. You can play on it. And you always heard that. You always heard that from the coaches. Yes. And I think that's what kind of brought me into the point where when you get to that point now, you're at that 19 or 20-year-old age, and you say, well, I need to do something because
Yes.
if I don't, I'm going to find myself on these street corners, and I don't want to be on the street corners. And you keep hearing those coaches.
That's right.
Those teachers, what they were saying. Shannon, you can do this, you can do that, you can do that. And it resonated. It was a seed planted.
That's right. That's right.
And I just was rejecting the seed. But once you keep hearing it and hearing it, and then now you got to do is make one decision to say, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
And then you start moving and blossoming. And then now you become what they were.
That's right.
That is, you begin to impart and impact other people's lives.
100%. That is extremely true. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. You were a class of what?
I was a class of 75.
All right. You were right between Vinny and Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Peter was 76. Vinny, I think, was 74, 76.
Oh, Vinny was 75. He
might have. Was he with you?
I think we played on the Else together. I think
Did
one
you?
of us played on Else Club together.
Yeah.
He might have been 74, 75.
Yeah. And tell me, I know Billy Joe. He's
76.
Class 76. Yeah.
Best athlete in the world. Most people say I'm more the gifted athlete, but my brother Billy could play. He never played football, but he could have played football, basketball, baseball. Wonderful in baseball. He just had that knack to understand sports. He wasn't the fastest individual in the world, but he could steal more bases than the person that was fast.
Yes.
Because he had that knack for that. And even your brother Peter.
Yeah.
I remember one time, I never forget this. I think Coach Rapp, we was on the field, and we was doing hurdles. Mm-hmm. And we was running hurdles. And this one I know that Peter he had talent because I didn't know how to run hurdles, but I was fast. And I'm running the hurdles and stuff. I think it was a 110 or whatever, but if it would have been 10 more yards, Peter would have whipped me because I was running up, jumping over the hurdles, and he was striving. Yeah. And that's when we knew, said, man, this guy is a great athlete. Yeah. He was a great athlete.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's still running. He runs every day.
Yes.
Yeah, he's out there getting after it. His big thing now is disc golf.
Okay.
He is a disc golf maniac.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun to play with. Yeah, tell me about your other brothers. You have
All right, my oldest brother was Willie.
Yes.
Willie, that's the oldest brother. You know, he passed from prostate cancer when he was 54. But Willie wasn't a sports player. Willie basically, and this is a podcast, so you just kind of be, if we can be candid,
Yeah, absolutely.
be candid and stuff. But Willie was basically sort of like our father,
Yes.
because our father left, and then had 8 kids, and so Willie,
8 kids.
8 kids. My mama had 8. Got 6 boys and 2 girls, and so Willie basically kind of dropped out of school in the 11th grade. And started working going back to Washington Heights, he started working for Spooner.
Okay.
Spooner had a grocery store right there in Washington Heights. And man, I'm going to tell you, when he started working at Spooner's, we was happy. We thought that the Lord had sent Rhema. And we talking about Rhema word, but he sent Rhema food. So we knew that before we even talked about the Bible study about the manna. We had Rhema. We had that food. But he would work, and he would take his money, and rather than getting the money, he would get the groceries. And so he was the individual that really taught us work ethic, our oldest brother work ethic. And he ended up, working for, I guess, the Fountain. He began a janitor there. And then he opened up his own business where he began to do janitorial work in a lot of the Catholic churches and stuff. And then the bank that closed on Main Street Highway over there, he was there for 25 years and retired.
Oh, no kidding.
And actually ended up having more than all of us.
No kidding.
Because of the work ethic.
Yeah.
And that's what Willie. Now, Danny is the second oldest, and Danny was probably better than all us athletes and whatnot. So Danny, all us went into service, and Danny started doing truck driving and stuff. And then it was me, and then, of course, Billy, then David, and then Callan. And then Jackie, and then Tommy, our youngest baby brother. He passed about 3 years ago. So the oldest and the youngest have transitioned on to be with the Lord.
8 kids.
Yeah, 8 kids.
Growing up in the same place.
Same place on Lemon Street.
On Lemon Street. Okay.
1-bedroom house.
What? No.
Yeah.
Kidding.
If the Methodist church was right. It's a Methodist AME church right there.
Yeah.
It kind of caught on fire.
Yes.
And now they relocated. But right over there, it's an empty space there. Yep. There was what we call a quadruplex.
Yep.
2 on this side, 2 on that side. We stayed on that side. It was 1 bedroom, 1 bath, a kitchen, and then that's it. It was 8 of us staying in there.
How did you do that? I mean, how did you manage? You have mattresses? I mean, you have beds? You have bunk beds?
Mama had 2 bunk beds in the front room, and then you had the main bedroom over in the back. You had a bed over there, and then you had 2 beds in the main bedroom. But I mean, we didn't care.
Well, I mean,
we
that's
slept together.
Sure.
2 of us
Sure.
on the little twin beds.
Yeah.
Up. So it was just. It was just natural. I mean, we just was young, and as long as we had something to eat, and that basically was it. We had to go to church. That's one thing, because we stayed right across from church.
Right.
No sports, no basketball, no baseball, no football, unless we play sport. I mean, go to church basically. And so I think that's how all of us was able to become pretty good speakers. Not the best, but because every 4th Sunday in the AME church, it was Youth Sunday. It's still Youth Sunday. That means the youth usher.
No kidding.
The youth.
Every 4th Sunday.
Every 4th Sunday, basically, in most of the AME churches, and a lot of churches do it on 4th Sunday, where they do everything. They do the ushering, they do the singing, they do everything.
That's fantastic.
And you train that. And so then they even do they do the speaking. In other words, they may have one person speaking, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, and then have an adult coming after them. But one of the Shannon boys, one of us had to speak, because the other, kids, but Mama said, if you're going to play football, basketball, baseball, you had to speak. And so we was in 10th, 11th grade, and then our friends, Ted, Theodore Gibbs, and all of them, they would come in, look at them Shannon boys, they're singing in the choir, Doc Shannon. But we had to do it.
Yeah.
So Mama said, either you do that or you won't play.
That's some strong leadership, and that's true family values. That's kind of that's the epitome of family right there.
I think Coach Rapp can tell you, one time I didn't do my chores, and I was playing for Coach Rapp. I was on JV, and Doc Shannon came out to the field. And I had to leave.
Oh, wow.
Coach Rapp said, I'd take care of him. I know you remember that, Coach Rapp. And the next practice, he made me run the stairs the whole practice.
Oh, yeah.
because I didn't do chores.
Oh man! So you got the double whammy.
You had to do the double whammy, and I think that's it's not missing, but I think a lot of coaches are going back to that. That communication with parents,
Yeah.
and the coach. Those ones who say, the coach has really more influence than they do. And so then if you work with the coaches and the coaches have a heart for the kids and understand about getting the grades, making sure they stay eligible, making sure they be respectful.
Yes.
And that's basically what that was. But, when we was coming up, our family was like that. God wanted us to be like, but Mom, she said you had to do it, And of course, you got discipline back then. It wasn't sitting in the corner, even at E.O. Douglas. Miss White, first grade, Mr. Hill, second grade, Miss Walden, third grade, Miss Murphy, fourth grade, Miss Stevenson, fifth grade, Mr. Ellis and stuff.
Mr. Ellis,
We start changing classes in sixth grade, and then after that, we came over to the middle school when integration. But, they didn't play.
They did not.
They did not.
No, they did not. You know who else I loved? And I used to see him all the time. I used to see him out and about. I haven't seen him in years. Is Mr. Hudson, Herman D. Hudson. Whatever happened to him? Do you have any idea?
I know his daughters came and got him, and I don't know where he went, but I know they came and got him once he started getting a little older. Yeah. So I don't know if Mr. Hudson. I think Mr. Hudson have transitioned.
Has he?
I think mostly all of those teachers at E.O. Douglas, because we just had Mr. Walker just did the Afro-American exhibit out to them all, and had that picture where all the teachers from E.O. Douglas, and I think most all of them had transitioned and went on to be with the Lord.
Yeah. Mr. Hudson, he was ag, I think, for a while there at the high school, but he was the ISS teacher when I was there. So I may or may not have spent some time in Mr. Hudson's ISS class. I don't want to incriminate myself too much. But what I loved about him, he had a lesson that he would say it all the time. You got to learn to buck dance before you can tap. And it was his way of saying, get the basics done. Take care of the little things. Focus on the fundamentals. And that's always stayed with me. I like that man.
He was straightforward also.
Yes, he was.
He was straightforward. And he did not, let me see how I will put this to make sure that we don't. He didn't play in terms, I know I took ag when I was in ninth grade, and myself and Oscar Robinson and Ted Dorsey, we was talking in his class, somewhat disrespectful, and he said, Shannon, Dorsey, Robinson, I need to talk to you all after class. And his class and in the back there. Yep. And so we went in the back, and I'm telling you, this is exactly what happened. Mr. Hudson say, you all disrespected me. You should never disrespect me. And I think he was just trying to intimidate us, but he did intimidated me because I went and got out of his class. But he went to saying, so y'all think y'all bad. And he started actually unbuttoning it.
No kidding.
He took 2 buttons, and that's all it took. Yes, sir, we're going to be good. And I think he was just doing it to see what he was going to do. But I went straight up there to Mr. Blandon and said, I got to get out that class. And then I went to Mr. Robinson and Sharp, Roberts Sharp. But he was serious. He said, don't play in my class. Don't disrespect me And so that's the only incident I had with Mr. Hudson. And ever since then, it was yes, sir, no, sir.
Absolutely.
Please, thank you. I appreciate you, Mr. Hudson. How you doing today? It resonated.
Yes. Oh, I guess it did. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. So you mentioned that you were maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say wayward, but you had maybe some rebellious times in high school around that age?
Yes.
To an extent? So obviously, I would say that at that time, you were not thinking that you were going to be a pastor one day.
No.
So when did that hit you?
I just think, when I was young, my uncle, Willie Owens, that was my uncle, and my mother's brother. And he always said I had a head like a preacher. He was like, that boy, he's going to be a preacher. He had a head like a preacher. He's going to have a head like a preacher. Going to have a head like a preacher. But when we was at E.O. Douglas, we always had to play parts, like the Three Bears.
Okay.
And then I always had a good part. I played Benjamin Franklin.
Okay.
And so when we had that, I usually always get some of the parts where you had to remember
Yes.
a lot of the, and so a lot of people kind of associated, man, I think you're going to be a preacher. You got a preacher's voice. I mean, ever since about third grade, you're going to be a preacher. So you heard it all your life that you're going to be a preacher, But my whole thing is when I get out of high school and I leave my mama's house, I would never set foot in a church again. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because we had to go.
Yeah.
Not that it wasn't bad, because we had, I think, Mr. Jackson, when he came down with the pastor, that's when he started the youth football league. Mm-hmm. And over in Washington Heights, we never got uniforms, but we was able to go to E.O. Douglas and actually play 11 on 11 and those kind of things. Oh, yeah. And actually go to E.O. Douglas gym, play basketball, and he would take us down to Pahokee in those areas and play basketball. So he was a good preacher, but never in my life did I think I was going to be a preacher. However, when I went in service, and I was in Germany, mm-hmm. and
thank you for your service, by the way.
And when I was in Germany, what I did basically, because I know Mom used to worry about us, and so this is actually what happens. What I used to do, because I wasn't a saint when I was over in Germany. I mean, I was young, in Germany, and you everywhere, and I mean, the Rhine, the river. I mean, you go, Munich, going down there to the University of Munich, where all, it was, y'all know, it wasn't no Holy Ghost to restrain you. It was on. But every time I wrote a letter, I would put the letter signed Reverend Robert Shannon.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And my mother always, man, he received Jesus Christ as his Savior. But I was the biggest devil in the world over there. But my whole thing was to make sure that, she understood, hey, you going to church? Yes, I'm going to church. Uh-huh. To make sure that she didn't worry about us.
Yeah.
And so Reverend Robert Shannon. Mm-hmm. And so
you spoke it into existence.
I spoke it into
manifest destiny.
Mm-hmm. All the time. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And your teachers did, and your teachers saw it in you, and they spoke it into mm-hmm. existence, and the people all along your life did that for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
And Sunday school. I mean, coming up in the Methodist church. I mean, you had Sunday school teachers. Mr. Aaron was part of our Sunday school teachers. Mm-hmm. And so, reading the scriptures, you would read the scriptures, and back then, we was using those commentaries and everything. Then we wasn't saved, but okay, I got to speak 5 minutes, so mm-hmm. I'm gonna speak on 1 Corinthians such and such, and you look it up and you write it out, and
sure.
and you put stuff down, and you put words down that you don't even know what they mean, but they sound good. I mean.
Hey, there's a lot of pastors doing that right now.
Using alliterations. I mean, we was doing that back then.
That's great.
But that's basically what's it and stuff. And so I think it was June the 7th, 1980. That's when I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Mm-hmm. And that was through, I don't know, Peter, I think he may know him, but that was Alan Lewis.
Okay.
Alan Lewis, A.J. Lewis. A.J. Lewis was a running back along with Keith Lockett and that group back there. And he had received the Lord as his personal Savior. Mm-hmm. So he was part of the Lewis family singers. And they would come on Lemon and Highlands every Friday and witness.
Is that related to Alderay and Lebert? Or is that
Alan is their uncle.
Is their uncle? Okay,
Alan is their uncle, and they had the Lewis family singers, which was about 45 of them, and Alan was the little young 19-year-old minister, and all of them was having that Lewis family singers, and they would go all over singing.
Yeah,
and my wife, who happened to be his niece, Gwen was his niece.
I gotcha.
And so he would come up the street. And Mother taught us to always respect people. Yes. Before he came up, then Raw Carr used to come up the street. You had Mr. Jesse, Mitch used to come up the street. You had Mr. Johnson. all of those individuals would come up the streets, and every time they would come up the streets, no matter what you was doing, you would respect them and you be quiet.
Yes.
I mean, you would be quiet because Mama taught us that you don't play with the Lord. I don't care who you are. Don't play with the Lord. Don't play with the Lord. And he came up. I'll never forget. I was right there by Pete's place, the club where the top had burnt down, and I was standing outside, and he came to witness, and he said, I just want to just talk to you. He called me Shannon. Shannon, I just wanted to talk to you. And I said, he started talking about the Lord. I said, Alan, I know my mom, she in church, and I know I used to call them holy rollers. I know y'all holy rollers and y'all saved and stuff. I said, but I don't want to play with the Lord, and dare not, compare, others who are weak in the church with people outside. I say, when I get ready to get saved, I want to give God 100%. And he talked, and he talked for about 15 minutes, and I'll never forget. He went to walk off, and he came back, and he looked me in the eyes. He said, you know what? You're going to come talk to me in 3 days. I could not sleep for 3 days.
Wow.
3 days. And I was working as a correction officer. I had just got hired at Avon Park Correction Institution, working as a correction officer, 6 months, and we were staying in my aunt's, what we call it, bachelor pad, and it was a 3-bedroom, and myself, little Billy, and Ted, we was staying in there. I mean, I was living it up because all we had to do, we had rent and light bill 3 ways. So, you take money, at that time you're making pretty good money when you're single, but I couldn't sleep at night. I would get up because Mama stayed right around the corner, and I would get up and go to the house and beat on the door. She said, boy, that's just the Lord calling you. And I'll never forget, June the 10th, I think it's about on a Tuesday, 6:30. I walked, because he stayed on Lucas, Lincoln Height, and I walked around there, tears in my eyes, knocking on the door. Mother Lewis answered the door, and I said, is Alan there? She said, you look changed. I went in there, and he just went over the Romans prayer with me. Yeah. And I received the Lord June the 10th, 1980.
Man, oh man, oh man. And the rest is history.
And
holy cow.
History. And he used to have Bible study in the trailer. And all the 25, 30 there. And I was in the choir. Wasn't in the choir. My wife was in the choir. I was there no more than 3 weeks, and he made me his assistant. And I didn't know what I was doing.
No
But
kidding.
he told me how to write. I need you. He was like Romans 3. Read Romans chapter 3 and then write out 10 questions. I will read Romans 3, write out 10 questions so that now he can give them to the individuals. And that's how it started. Basically from there.
Man, oh man. You talk about one person changing your life. And you can go back and there's this one person and this one person and this one person. But my word, what a story.
That's a story.
1980.
That was 1980. And my wife, Gwen, was very instrumental in terms of my receiving the Lord. Because even before that happened, me and her, we went out one time out in the streets. I mean, that was to the beachfront. That was that when she graduated. I think she graduated in 1980. Yeah. And then basically is my car. I had a brand new Buick, Riga 1979. Nice. It was, it was nice. Yeah. And then she had the car, and then said, we're going to go out. And then she didn't come back. But she went to Alan and talked to Alan. And then when she came back, and then she said, we rode by the youth, Boys and Girls Club. She drove me down there. She said, I just got it. She said, I love you. We just been dating a little bit, but I love you. She said, but I'm giving my life to the Lord. And if you want to be friends, you can be friends. And then I said, go up to Mama's house. And she went to Mama's house. Back then, Robert Walker, Papa T, had put my 8-track in the back so nobody wouldn't steal it. And I got Mighty Clouds of Joy, put it in. And I came back and got in the front seat. I say, I'm saved too.
Oh, wow.
But it was incidents like that really kind of was the galvanizing factor in terms of your relationship with the Lord and stuff, And it just brought everything together.
Yes.
Because I always had that mindset that I had kind of messed up my talent. I mean, that was you messed up your talent. You could have did this, you could have did that, you could have did that. But then when I gave my life to the Lord, then I said, I can do some other things. Yeah. I don't have to worry about that. I ain't got to worry about, never played college basketball,
Sure.
football. And that kind of was in my mind that, 19 and 20-year-old, it just stayed. You're looking at television, I think I'm faster than them, what I'm doing here.
This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020. Explain something to me, because I've never understood this. But I grew up Catholic, so in the Catholic Church you have brothers, you have priests, you have bishops, you have cardinals, you have the Pope. What is the hierarchy in the Black Church as far as pastors, bishops, and stuff like that go? How do you become a bishop?
It's various denominations.
Okay.
It's not only the Black Church, but it's various denomination. Say for if in the Methodist Church, it's sort of like the AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church, where Richard Allen them found in 1677 when there was racism, and then they broke off, but they still was Wesleyan.
Okay.
And so if you follow Wesleyan, what's happening with Wesleyan, hierarchy come from up top.
Okay.
So you got a bishop in the Methodist Church, and especially in the AME. I can talk about the AME Church. So you got a bishop, and that bishop now is over a particular region.
Okay.
Like in Florida, you got one bishop over all the AME churches.
Okay.
In Florida.
Gotcha.
And that person that's the 11th Episcopal District. So if you're in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, which is a Wesleyan, we function in Wesleyan, that power don't come from within.
Okay.
So you got Black churches, Afro-American churches, and Caucasian churches where it's congregational.
Yes.
Power come from what? Inside.
Yes.
Deacon, diaconate.
Yes.
And power ruled by the deacons, but then pastors is assigned to make sure. So that structure and it's not only just Black church, but it's whatever denomination that you're in.
Gotcha.
So in the AME church, you got that bishop, and then in that 11th Episcopal District, and then now you got presiding elders.
Okay.
Presiding elders are individuals that work with the bishop to ensure that the mission, the vision, strategic plan, polities, and all those things are carried out within every church within the 11th Episcopal District.
Okay.
And then under the presiding elder, you have pastors.
Okay. Got you.
And so when you got those pastors, and then now the pastors are assigned, like when I was in the pastor in Lake Placid, Greater Bethel AME Church, I was in the Lively Lakeland District. And Pastor Lemon was my elder. And it was like 22, 23 churches. And all of us had to give accountability to him. He gave accountability to the bishop, and that's including everything. The property, the church, how many people join, everything about it. And so that's basically what it is.
Basically the same hierarchy. Is Wings of Faith, is that AME or is that independent?
Wings of Faith is independent.
Okay, that's what I
because
thought.
it's independent, basically, we don't have a bishop, but we do basically, we're somewhat the Wesleyan. We have a pastor, and then we have a pastor, then we do have elders, and then we do have ministers, and then we do have deacons and deaconesses, and those kind of things. So it's still the same structure, but we don't believe in an org chart.
Okay, got it.
I don't believe in an org chart. I think that every individual is equal.
Yes.
But because of the position, the capacity is different.
Yes.
And so as a pastor, I'm equal with an elder,
Right.
but my capacity is different because I'm in charge of everything.
Right.
Like when I was a warden.
Yes.
If I was a warden, and then now I got 6 institutions that's under me, and then you have another warden that may have just one. They just may have 450, 500 inmates under them, where then I had 2,500. We get paid the same back when I was a warden, but the capacity is different because I got more inmates, 3 assistant wardens, 1 colonel, 4 majors, so it's equal, but the capacity is different.
Got it.
And I look at it like that. There's no org chart, but it's capacity.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yes.
You founded that church, didn't you?
Yeah, I found
20, 25 years ago?
We 2009.
2009.
2009.
Wow.
Yep.
I when I used to be the music director at Bible Fellowship, I shouldn't say this, but I always envied your music program. I always envied your singers. I always envied what you did out there. And I always enjoyed it. There were times when we used to do some things together in the community and whatnot, and I'd have the worship team there, and you would bring your band or your worship team out there, and I always enjoyed that a lot.
But can I just kind of encourage you?
Sure.
We envy you all too. I used to love. I mean, it's the different genres of
Sure.
music.
Yeah.
And then you look at it, and but when you can put them all together, because the scriptures say, "Speak to yourselves in psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs."
That's right.
And when you put it all together, and that's why fellowship, koinonia, is so important. Because we need some. We need this song. We need that song. We need this song. We need. so I think it's the same. It's that mutual respect,
Yes.
especially in music. I mean, you're a music director, you get a right song at the right time, and man, it just touch your heart instead of just being on one genre. Some people, this is the only thing, but if you can just kind of put it together and have this hymns, songs, spiritual songs, and put it in one setting,
Yes.
the presence of the Lord.
I've experienced that, and I haven't been in ministry since 2015. And there's times I really miss it, but I can tell you now, I don't think I'd ever want to go back into it again. I just don't. But yeah, there were really special times, and I'll always be grateful for that period of my life. It wasn't all good, but it was special.
But I can tell you, we give you open invitation not to come join Wings of Faith. But anytime you're in town on Sunday morning at 9, if you want to come sing a song, come on, bring your guitar and sing. Yeah,
maybe one of these days we'll come out. Me and Dawn would be happy to come out.
Yeah, come as
part of a service.
Yeah, just come and sing, and I know Gigi would be happy to get you because you know how to just jail. when you're gifted like you are, and gifted singers, gifted musicians, no matter what denomination you're from, you all know how to jail.
Thank you, and I appreciate that more than you even know. This episode of The Havery Show is being brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting. 863-385-5020. Let's just have some fun for a minute. I also don't want to keep you too. We go over 45 minutes already.
Already?
Yes, sir.
Oh my goodness,
it's going fast. You I don't call it a magic genie. Call it whatever you want. But a man walks up to you and says, "Robert, I'm going to give you either 2 innings or a quarter, basketball, football, baseball, pro level. I'm going to put you on any team that you want in one sport, any era, and you get to go out and play with that group of men for one time in your life. What sport, what team, what era?"
It'd be Washington Commanders. I'm a Commanders fan.
All right.
It would be on the same team where John Riggins ran all over Miami Dolphins. You remember that?
Yeah. Now,
we won the Super Bowl.
That's right.
If I would want to be right there on that team. I wouldn't have to start, but I can be the Mercury Morris.
Yes.
I can be that third man, that quick person sitting there. That's the team I would want to play on because you had the Hogs.
That's right.
Oh, man. So that's the team I would want to play with.
Is that partially because you're a Commanders fan or because you hate the Dolphins?
No. No, I'm just a Commanders fan. And I thought that time, because, John Riggins used to play with the Jets.
Right.
And when he came with Washington, oh, my goodness. And I just thought with him and Joe Theismann,
That's right.
It was just amazing what they did, how they took individuals from various teams, put together, and then we was able to beat one of the great, because that Miami Dolphin team they was great under Don Shula.
Yes.
And to put that together, offensively, defensively, special teams, everything, I would want to play that. They just could have made me a kick returner.
Wow, that would have been enough.
Yeah, that would have been enough.
Yep. Mm-hmm. With Theismann's injury, I'll never forget it.
Oh.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And you remember who came in and took his place?
Yeah,
that was a sight.
Doug Williams.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, former Buck. People thought he wasn't the guy for the Bucks, and then he came in and did what he did. Holy moly! So the Commanders, there's a bit of a push now to turn them back into the Redskins from the Native American community. You think that'll happen, and do you think that's a good idea?
I think it's a good idea as long as the Native Americans are not offended.
Right.
And I think that's basically what they was changing a lot of names because
Yes.
people get offended. And my thing is, I think history is history.
Yeah.
And if we try to eradicate history, then what happens now is now we have to pick and choose and be selective. And anytime you pick and choose and be selective, you're going to be fragmented and you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
So let history be history.
Yeah.
Understand what took place at history, the pros and the cons
That's
of it,
right.
and then just let it stand.
Yes.
And then we move forward.
Yeah.
History to me is inclusive of progressive lifestyle.
Sure.
So if we're living, I can't live without my history.
That's right.
I can't live without, and I didn't tell you this, but I was suspended in the 8th grade.
Oh, boy.
I didn't go back to school. 1 week before Christmas break because I was bad. I did some things, and that was who is that? Mr. Casey was the principal,
Yep.
Mr. Freeland, Mr. Cox were there,
Yep.
and Mr. Hill.
Yep.
And it was because Mr. Hill, because I did not like Mr. Hill. I got because Mr. Hill used to whip me, and I didn't speak for him.
Yeah.
To him when he was over there, and they did some things to me, and I said some things, and so they suspended me, and I had to have psychologists coming in, and then I went to school, and they gave me a social promotion to 9th grade. I know y'all didn't know that, but y'all know I got a social promotion to 9th grade based on the fact that probably the 8th graders, we don't want him down here anymore. But but also my sports ability and stuff. But that kind of stuff like that. So I can't change that history. Mr. Locke, he used to tell me all the time. He got to the point. The last time I talked to Mr. Locke he called me. He said, "Robert, don't say it again." Because I would always say, man, if I were to listen to you all, he said, don't say it again. Everything happened to you for where you are now.
That's right.
And I think we can't change that. So we take the things, even when it's our decisions that put us in that situation,
Yes.
we take that and it builds us so that now we can move forward and move on.
Yeah. I really do believe that everything happens for a purpose. I shake my head and scratch my head and think, what on earth? Oh, how could any good come of this stupid thing I did, or this stupid thing, or this selfish thing I did? How could any good come from that? And I still do, and I still wonder, but I have to just trust that, this happened for a reason. And it's going to be unveiled at some point, and we'll see. Oh, yeah.
Just let history be history.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those type of people. I said, let history be history. Let history be history.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate for many things, but I'm an advocate for righteousness.
Yes.
And because of that, history is history.
Yeah.
So I don't get caught up in it like a lot of people. My whole thing, okay, what did we learn from that?
Yeah.
What can we keep? What principle? I acknowledge it, then I got to accept it. I apply it. Then now how can I advance? And that's what I do. I take that. We need to advance.
Yeah.
And make people better. My saying now is every morning I pray, I'll say, God, give me wisdom, give me knowledge to make a difference in somebody's life. Yeah. Anybody I meet, let me say something to make a difference in their life.
Could you imagine how different the world would look if everybody woke up in the morning and said, help me to make a difference in somebody else's life? Could you imagine the change? It would literally happen overnight. It's powerful.
It's powerful.
Yeah. Boy, now you got me thinking. Anyway, I honestly believe that the way that government, the way that everything is set up is for division. It's to divide and conquer. And I have never seen more division in our country than what we have right now. And I don't know. I mean, there's division in everything from sports to entertainment to the church. And the church is supposed to be, Catholic being universal. It's supposed to be one body. And it is so splintered. It is so divided. And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Is that just are we just in the end times and that's all there is to it, or is there still hope?
I think we're in the end times, but I just think there's hope. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just think we accentuate the negative.
Always.
And it's so much good that is going out there.
Thank you.
But nobody talk about it.
That's right. Because it doesn't sell.
And that's the problem. And I think what we have to do is all this bad going on. You say, man, it's a lot of good going on.
Yes.
It's a lot of kids are graduating from high school, graduating from college. It's a lot of men are doing well. It's a lot of women are doing well. It's a lot of individuals in church are living a righteous life, are treating people like God say treat them.
Yeah.
But that does not get magnified.
That's right.
We magnify the negative. And I think it's up to us to say, you know what? If many of us start saying, you know what? That's bad, but this good.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, you look at Highlands County, who would know Lake Placid, Sebring, and Avon Park, the sports program, the coaches. Lord, look what Cynthia Barrett is doing in Avon Park.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it. I mean, she's doing a great job at the high school. You know, Miss Barrett?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She is doing a great job in Avon Park. I just mentioning her. I mean, I know I got the LeVar Scotts.
That's right.
But these individual educators,
Yeah.
I saw like one or two, and they are coalescing individual students, and these students are taking the mindset to say, you know what, we're going to be different.
Yeah.
We're going to make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah.
That's what we need to promote.
Yeah.
That's what we need to promote. And when we start promoting that, you know, end times it's going to come.
It's going to come regardless.
It's gonna come.
Yeah.
But he said, while we're here,
That's right.
he said, I want you now to do some great things.
Yeah.
I want you to be, ministers of reconciliations, because I gave you a word of reconciliation. So then now you can be ambassadors to represent me.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. If I can touch just one, if everyone just can touch one, just moving forward, and wake up and say, God, thank God. And even the United States, thank God for we living in a great country.
That's right.
I don't care what they say about division. I don't want to go in any other country and live but the United States.
That's right.
We got freedom.
100%.
We got problems, we got issues, but
Yes.
guess what?
Yes.
We have freedom.
That's right. And sometimes touching people is as simple as making eye contact and say good morning. Sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes it's the simple things.
Ministry, I call it ministry of presence.
Oh, I like that.
It's ministry of presence. You don't have to say anything, just
Yeah.
be present.
Have you noticed how so many people really have forgotten how to just acknowledge somebody in a store or, just walking down the street, and so often they're on their phones and they're just completely disconnected from anything, and I just want to say good morning. And sometimes I do, and they just kind of look up like I'm crazy and keep going, but I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep saying hello. I'm going to keep saying good morning. I'm going to keep saying how you doing. I'm going to keep doing it.
I encourage you, keep doing it. Keep doing it. I mean, you always had that knack to bring people together.
It's my heart.
And we appreciate it. So you keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And I know God. See, because sometimes our ministry is not in church. We go to church, but our ministry is where we're effective at. So our pulpit is where we are. Yeah. And I tell Coach Scott and them, Coach Scott, Princeton Hare, all of those individuals who part of Wings of Faith, all the small church, I say, you know what? I can do better. No. You doing what God called you to do. Yeah. Your pulpit is with those kids. Yeah. And I think it was just the other day I sent him saying, if you got 75 kids and they be with you 180 days, time that how many times? Yeah. Now time that over 20 years, the contact you done had with all these kids, and not just 75. Yeah. You're making an impression in these kids' life. You're setting a foundation that is going to shift and change the world. Give them another perspective. And that's what you're doing. That's your pulpit. Use it and be happy that God has given you that platform.
I'm grateful. I am. I'm grateful. Pastor Shannon, I love you, man. Thank you for coming. I know you're a busy guy, and it means a lot to me that you would take your time to be on the show today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to be on the show, and all my friends and Vinny and Peter. We love y'all.
Oh yeah, I'll pass that on.
Tell them to my friends, all of us.
I'm gonna do it.
Yes,
I'm gonna do it. I love you, man.
All right. Thank you. Now, all right,
we're out.
All righty.
The Havery Show has been brought to you by Heartland Tax and Accounting, 863-385-5020.